A lot of big names have come off the board in the NFL and free agency so far, and a lot of moves will be made around the draft, but that doesn't mean there aren't still some smart moves out there. So today, going to look at one signing every AFC team should do and figure out how we can improve these teams just a little bit. So, doing one signing for every team, doing the AFC first. NFC is going to be on the podcast tomorrow. And if you're not watching this around the time that I recorded, the video is probably up now, up on YouTube. We're going to start in the AFC East. And so, basically, what I did, I tried to be as realistic as I could about where the teams are at in the salary cap and who is still available, and gave first dibs to the teams with the most salary cap space. I felt that was probably the most fair. So up first, the New England Patriots. They've made the move with Romeo Doubs to address some things at wide receiver, and I know a lot of people are wondering what they're going to do about the offensive line, given some of the issues they had against Seattle, but they still feel pretty locked in with the guys that they have. So I went to helping out on the defensive side of things and giving them a little bit more help in the pass rush. And so I went Joey Bosa with the New England Patriots. Again, with Coach Mike Vrabel and how good that defense was a season ago, you could make the argument that maybe some of that was based off of the schedule that they faced, and still good defense and all of that. But I think we saw in the Super Bowl that there's some improvements that could be made there. Bosa, I think, helps to really solidify that. Up next, the Buffalo Bills. I gave them Dylan Parham, former offensive lineman for the Vegas Raiders. Again, Buffalo has done a lot of their work so far. This one by trade, bringing in DJ Moore. They've addressed a couple of other areas, but they did lose one of their guards. Parham, maybe not the most exciting name or anything there, and certainly not a name that would keep you from drafting an interior offensive lineman later on, but just where they're at salary cap wise, who's still available, I think it's a pretty good fit. For the Miami Dolphins, this is tough because they're actively not trying to be good and only had a couple $1 million in salary cap space left, but while there are maybe not necessarily trying to be the most competitive, they still have to have football players out there, and so I gave them defensive back corner Mike Hilton to try to help out there. But there are a few of these teams where it's like, I mean, okay, I guess. For the New York Jets, they're a bad team that I think wants to be better in the upcoming season. New quarterback Geno Smith, new old quarterback Geno Smith. I'm giving him a weapon to work with in Brandon Ayuk. I think Ayuk is going to want to bolster his value. I don't think that a lot of winning teams are going to be looking for this dude, and so the Jets have been that type of a landing spot before. Give Geno a little bit more room to work with, a very solid number two behind Wilson, and help out the offense there. So those are the picks that I have made for the teams in the AFC East. Moving into the North, the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is the easiest one. It's the one that everyone is assuming is going to happen. It's Kirk Cousins. They don't have a quarterback right now. I don't think Aaron Rodgers will be back, and so they're going to need somebody. Kirk Cousins is the best somebody that is out there and can potentially help a Ty Simpson, who I think they could be looking at drafting for as early as 2 seasons from now, or with Cousins' history, maybe even next season. Up next, the Baltimore Ravens. I have them going with Taylor Decker to help out on the offensive line. You have Ronnie Stanley on the left side, get Decker to solidify things over on the right. The offensive line, maybe a touch of an issue for Baltimore this last season. They've already made a few moves to try to address things on the defensive side, so helping out Lamar and this run game by bringing in Taylor Decker, I think makes the most sense for the Ravens. For the Cincinnati Bengals, I have Cam Robinson on the offensive line. I think offensive line is a way bigger area of need than this team seems to think. They've spent some money trying to improve one of the worst defenses in the National Football League. I think they need to help out on the offensive line, and Cam Robinson, one of the best available to help out with that. And then the Cleveland Browns, I have Stephon Diggs. They need weapons for whoever is going to play quarterback for them this upcoming season. You like some of the things that they're building with Fannin at tight end, Judkins as running back. Don't love a lot of the wide receivers. Stephon Diggs can be a bit of a stabilizing presence for the Cleveland Browns there. We'll get to the other half of the conference in just a second, but would like to ask if we've made it this far already, hit that subscribe button, and it really does help grow the channel here, and we want to keep the football conversations going. Let's move into the AFC South, and we'll go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm giving them Larry Ogunjobi. Again, they lost a little bit on offense with HN Jr. going to the New Orleans Saints. I still like the talent they have on the offensive side, though, with Booty as the running back. I think Thomas just had a really bad year last year. I think he's going to be fine. They really like Jacoby Myers out there. Hunter is going to be maybe a little bit more sparing on the offensive side, but long story short, I think they're okay on offense. I think they need to strengthen up the defense just a little bit more. Helping out on the D-line with Ogunjobi is the way I would go for them. For the Houston Texans, it is guard Darryl Falale. $14 million they have in salary cap space. I think offensive line is a major need for this team. They have tried to address it. They will probably do so again in the NFL draft, but just giving them a little bit more help on the interior. I think just they need all the help that they can get right now. The Indianapolis Colts, the offense went kind of nuts last season, which outscored a few issues they have on defense. And you could see once quarterback became a bit of a problem spot for them, the defense wasn't good enough to hold up. So I'm going to help them on the defensive line with Calais Campbell. A lot of people expecting a fall off from him. He's not what he once was, of course, but they also don't need him to be that. Just a bit more of a stabilizing force in the middle of that defensive line. And for the Tennessee Titans, I'm going Jawan Jennings. If I'm Cam Ward, I am hoping that Wan'Dale Robinson isn't the big splash of the offseason to help out your young quarterback. I'm sure that there is a weapon coming or two in the draft, but I think Jawan Jennings has the stuff to be a pretty legitimate number one. He'd be the most talented wide receiver on this team, and it takes some of the pressure off. And even if you draft a kid, that there's still a chance they could outshine them, and you figure it out there. But Jennings, I think, would certainly be a solid addition for the Tennessee Titans offense. And then we get to the AFC West. The Denver Broncos, I have them going with Brian Robinson Jr. We talked about this in the free agents list that I did with the most talented free agents still available, or the best free agents still available. A lot of people forget that Brian Robinson Jr. was a number one running back a couple of seasons ago. It's why people were so excited to see what he could do if he came in for Kyle Shanahan and that offense out in San Francisco. Didn't end up really working out that way. They have been missing a running back like this. They've tried to piece it together with a few of these guys. I'm sure Javonte going off in Dallas doesn't make them feel great. And just bringing in someone who can stabilize that spot and just another weapon for Bo Nix to work with, I think Brian Robinson Jr. makes the most sense here for a team that's pretty solid all over the football field. For the LA Chargers, I'm going Hassan Reddick. Obviously, the issue last year was offensive line, but everyone got hurt. So we're not trying to address that there. Maybe we need a little bit of youth and some depth, but we can acquire that in the draft for the Chargers. So I'm helping out on the defensive line with Hassan Reddick. Go to a team that is a very well coached up defense, and when he goes into situations like that, he tends to thrive. So I think Hassan Reddick would be a pretty good value for a team that still has some of the most cap space in football. For the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm going Brandon Cooks. I'm a little surprised he's still available. This just feels like the type of a guy that this team would want. I love the addition of Kenneth Walker to this offense. Just give them a little bit more playmaking, but I think Brandon Cooks, with Mahomes having maybe a little bit less mobility coming off of a knee injury, Cooks is a guy who can just get open quick, and they need dudes like that. They've needed it for a while. It's not just straight burners down the field, although Cooks can obviously do that, but they need guys who can just get open quick, and Cooks, I think, answers that question for them pretty resoundingly. And then for the Raiders, obviously quarterback is a need, but we're all assuming they're locking that in. Wide receiver, certainly a spot that they could upgrade as well, but I'm looking on the defensive side of the football right now. They've made a couple of additions to the secondary. I don't think it's enough, and so I think Trevon Diggs is going to be my guy that I'm picking for the Raiders. Just another dude, go out there. Obviously, the highs are high, the lows are low with this particular player, but I think that there could be a big boost for him with Vegas and just help to improve the overall talent level of the defense that was pretty bad last year for the team that finished in the bottom in the National Football League. So those are my free agents, one per team in the AFC, going to do the NFC coming up a little bit later on. So what do you think? Did I nail it with your team, or am I completely out to lunch? Let me know in the comments, and we can keep the conversation going there. Or if you're listening in podcast form, or just want to publicly flog me, you can do so on social media. I am at Primetime Klein. If you're watching, it's listed just down below, right there. I am at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky.